Okay, from the get-go, I want to say this. I absolutely had fun with this movie. I enjoyed this movie for the most part. Now, it's not the Justice League movie that I wanted, but the movie that we got, I enjoyed it. I really did. Before I went to see this movie, I didn't know what to expect because of all, behind the scenes drama or whatever what happened with Joss Whedon and stuff like that. I didn't know what I was going to expect watching this movie. How I watched this movie, and when I finished it, when I left the theater, I was happy. I had fun. I found myself at the edge of my seat. I like this movie. I liked it. I'll buy it on Blu-ray. Well, I hope they release the extended cut, the Zack Snyder version. If you've been following the drama that came out after the movie's release, it's safe to say that the Justice League that we watched in theatrical version, it's clearly not Zack Snyder's vision. It clearly is. No matter how many times Warner Bros. We're keeping Zack Snyder's vision. It's clearly not Zack Snyder's vision. Clearly, even his son came out as like, this is not his vision. But at the end maybe in a future video I'll discuss that more. And with this video, I just wanted to express how I feel about the movie. But overall, I did enjoy it, but that doesn't mean I didn't have problems with it. I wanted to start off with the bad. I just want to get that out of the way. The bad thing that's on top of my mind, the first thing that's on top of my mind that I can't stand when I watch this movie, Henry Cavill's mustache, CGI mustache. It was terrible. It was terrible. Out of all the scenes they cut and kept, they kept one of the worst scenes in the movie. Like, for example, when the movie, by the way, spoilers. When the movie begins, right, it showed like a video recording of a kid like using his phone and recording recording Superman, and it's when the camera's his face, I swear to God, his face just went inwards. It was weird, and it was just like, what the fuck? What's wrong with his face? It was really. I never had this experience in cinema. It was embarrassing to look at. It was embarrassing to look at. Out of all the scenes that Joss Whedon or Warner Brothers cut, they thought that this was a good scene to keep. It was just, I get what they were trying to do. I get what they were trying to set up. But for me, if I saw that scene and I saw the way it kind of just cut out, it was not needed. Because that was really distracting. It was really distracting. Henry Cavill CGI, for the most part, was bad. I'm not saying there was some were actually good. Some were actually good. Like the, again, the spoilers, when I keep calling Henry Cavill. When Superman comes back, Clark Kent comes back. He took Lois Lane somewhere, back to the farmhouse. You could tell when he talks, it was a good scene. The CGI was good, but you could tell that it was a little off. But you could buy it, if what I'm saying makes sense. You could buy it. It wasn't distracting. You could buy it, like that scene. Or with the scene when Superman came back and he was talking with Batman and he stopped Batman mid-sentence. He's like, civilians. That scene. Or when he tells the Flash, you go left, I'll go right. That scene. Those are fine. You can't. I mean, you can, but it wasn't distracting. You could go on with it. But man, that first scene, oh my God, that CGI, it was distracting. It was distracting. The other thing that I didn't like, the second thing I didn't like, the big problem I have with this is the soundtrack. I hated the soundtrack for this movie. And when they announced Danny Elfman was going to replace Junkie XL, I knew this was going to happen. I knew from the get-go I was going to hate the soundtrack because I knew what kind of style Danny Elfman would do, and I hated it. I didn't like it at all. Now, I didn't like it because I'm not saying it was distracting. There was some that was distracting. There was. Like the scene when the Justice League fight Steppenwolf for the first time. When I say the Justice League, I mean before Superman came back. But when they were underground and they were fighting Steppenwolf, that part and then the music, it just did not fit. It just did not fit. For the most part, the music acted like background music, which is fine. But prior to that was not what DC was known for. Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Wonder Woman, even Suicide Squad. The soundtracks in those movies, the original soundtracks in those movies, had their own character to them. Like, the one good thing that us DC fans love about those movies, now after you watch those movies, even if you don't like them, you can still listen to the soundtrack afterwards. Like, I mean, for God's sake, I'm starting to go back to the gym, but when I go to the gym, I always play that Suicide Squad music on. I always play the Man of Steel music on. But with this, I don't want to play. It just sounds like bloody noise. Even when one of the big disappointments is after I watched the movie, went home, put on Danny Elfman's Justice League theme. It was terrible. It sounded like a mash between the Avengers theme and some wherever. It was terrible. I hated it all. And the thing another thing I didn't like about this movie, it was the unnecessary scenes. Like, for example, the first scene, unnecessary. Did not need to keep that. Okay, I'm gonna get a lot of trouble for saying this. There's nothing that the scene that did not need to be there, which I'm gonna get in trouble for saying, and a lot of DC fans will hate me for saying this, which is fine if they ever watch my videos. But there's the end credit scene with Superman and Flash racing. I get what they were trying to do, but at the end it did not need to be there, because one, Henry Cavill's face was too jarring to see, it was embarrassing to see, and plus, there would be a much more important scene than that could easily be replaced. Like, the time limit in this movie is supposed to be for 2 hours. That scene could have been cut to replace an even more important scene. Like what I read online, that they actually showed Darkseid. And he was shouting at, or maybe killed Steppenwolf. And he's like, you failed me, blah, blah, blah. I would rather have that scene than to have the scene that we got with a Flash racing Superman. That was just not necessary. That did not need to be there. There was too many unnecessary scenes and awkward jokes. Sometimes both unnecessary scenes and awkward jokes. You could tell that Joss Whedon's jokes are very hit and miss for me. And there were too many misses for me in this one. I mean, there was some that hit. Like, for example, when Superman throws Batman across the floor, he's like, yep, something definitely bleeding. That was funny. But there were a lot of unnecessary scenes, like when Lois Lane and Martha Kent were having heart to heart, and then she just came out and said, "Oh, you were thirsty." That joke, it was that Marvel humor does not work for this universe. It does not. Situational humor could work. Even jokes here and there could work. Like, there were some jokes in this movie that definitely worked, like the Aquaman one, when Wonder Woman throws a lasso of truth on him, and he's just making these awkward talks about, "Oh, I love you guys, blah, blah, blah." It was funny. But those kind of humor, the whole thirsty, it just did not work. It did not work. I thought this movie, because when I heard Zack Snyder was still on this, I thought this movie was going to be the epic biblical, mythical, powerful Justice League film. That's what I thought it was, but it wasn't. It was good, but it wasn't what I wanted. Okay, what I liked about it, what I did like about this movie is the basic story it had. I know a lot of people were complaining that this movie didn't take risks, but I'm just like, seriously, after Batman vs Superman, you want them to take risks? You're crazy. You're crazy. I like the basic story. Basic story can only work if the story is intriguing enough and it has great characters, in that story, which luckily this movie has. It has a good basic story, not too complicated, not too convoluted, with great characters. The characters in this film was phenomenal. I love all the Justice League members. I love all of them. They actually make me excited for their own standalone films. The character of Wonder Woman is still the same. Batman. Bruce Wayne, Batman. Look, no, I love him. I love Batman as a film. I'm still unsure about the tonal shift they did with him. But overall, I did love his character. The Flash, loved him, especially when he's in the Batcave. Loved him. Cyborg was good. So I heard they cut a lot of footage from Cyborg, but I'm just saying, if the one we have right now is amazing, I really want to see extended cut, because what they did with him in this theatrical version was amazing. Loved it. I know I bitched about the CGI as my negative, but I loved the CGI. But most of the time, the CGI was great. I loved it. I didn't understand when people say CGI was bad. CGI was good, even with Steppenwolf. There could be maybe one scene I found him, like I'm watching a PS2 graphic, but overall the CGI was brilliant, and the action, especially when they fight at the end, it was amazing. The action got it, man. The action was fucking amazing. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Now, like, did I mention? Yeah, the CGI was amazing, especially at the end where they're all standing next to each other. At the end, when he made that pose, that was absolutely epic. I loved it. So overall, this movie I enjoyed. Was it the movie I wanted? No, but it was enough. I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed watching this movie. I will go say I had fun. And I'll go as far as say I love this movie, even though it wasn't the movie that I wanted. It still referenced the other movies. It didn't disconnect it. You could tell, like for example, the whole nightmare sequence in Batman vs Superman. They touched on this. Clearly, this is not what Zack Snyder envisioned, but they did touch on it. So they did address it, not central narrative to the story, but they did touched on it. Like Lois is the key, even if it's low key and shit. You can't deny that they did touch on it, and they did reference the other movies. Cause I watched not a lot, but I forgot which one it was. I watched one review where they said they did reference the movies that could disconnect from the movies. That is not true. It connected all the movies, just not the way it was intended. So overall, I love this movie. I can't believe that this movie's got, like, from the time of this recording, 40% or 43%. That's just crazy. That is just crazy. I have no idea what the hell is going on. But for me, I enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, if it's still in the cinema, you should watch it, because I had a blast watching this movie. I did.